So it turns out that the Turning Point USA drama became all of a sudden had this twist where this lady Aubrey Leitch, who released a video saying that she was unjustly fired from Turning Point for apparently disagreeing with, say, the circumstances which surround Charlie Kirk's assassination. I'm trying to paraphrase here because she was a bit cryptic during the video. I already watched this video. I did not wait for the show to react to this with you. And a couple of things that I'm going to advise you to pay attention to is to, if you are watching this, or maybe if you're listening to this show, if you're listening to this video, you're not going to be able to see it. But if you're watching the video, which I strongly encourage you to, notice all the cuts and notice all the changes of hairstyle, which is a bit odd. But again, let's hear her recollections of events and let's see if we can find anything odd about this. So she was fired from Turning Point and she has something to say to the world right now. Let's address this video.
My name is Aubrey Leitch, and I am the former public relations manager for Turning Point USA. And I was a part of the recent kind of mass termination group at Turning Point, and was let go about 3 weeks ago. And at the time of my release, I was working for the ATK company, which is spokesman Andrew Colvet's private business that contracts out with the Turning Point kind of ecosystem. So encompassing of Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. I was working directly for him. Prior to that, I did work for Turning Point USA.
I don't know if you noticed that there was an edit that was a cut in there, but we continue.
So I've been with the organization since 2021. So my boss, Andrew Colvet, and I had a very close working relationship. I talked with him on a weekly, if not daily basis. My tasks were assigned by him to me. Working directly for him was a challenge and very intimidating because, you know, he was Charlie's right-hand guy, always in Charlie's ear, constantly. And so it was very important to me to be an impressive and loyal employee to Andrew, to which I believe I certainly was. I did so many things for that company. I worked many, many hours outside of my general kind of understanding.
Okay, I noticed a couple of things here when she was saying about her work. Notice that her blinking rate, I'm going to replay the last 10 seconds just to make sure to pinpoint her blinking rate that goes through the roof when she starts talking about all the work that she did.
And loyal employee to Andrew, to which I believe I certainly was. I did so many things for that company. I worked many, many hours outside of my general kind of understanding of what this job entailed. And I had no problem with it because I wanted to work hard for both Andrew and Charlie, for my coworkers, and for the Lord. And that was the expectation that Charlie had for us as well, was to work very hard. I really believed in the mission of Turning Point and what we were doing.
Yeah, you saw that there was an edit there as well. So at least 2 edits so far.
So
and another edit, and you see another hairstyle.
Taking you back all the way to 2021 when I first started working at Turning Point, let's be honest. Being a conservative was not very cool or trendy back then. I think we really owe it to a lot of the work that Charlie put in and us at Turning Point put in. It kind of made conservatism more cool and trendy. But back then, it wasn't very cool. And so it was such a beautiful thing to be kind of plopped into this place of employment where everybody was so like-minded. It was just such a fun place to work.
Notice that there was another edit when she was talking. This is what I don't understand. She looks really eloquent. She looks like she can talk like on one sitting of all this, and I don't know what the edits are for because it looks like she could talk very naturally. But this, we were talking about that with the Nancy Guthrie videos from her family. They were reading these videos to the whoever abducted her. And that reading made that unauthentic. And that's why I find this, I mean, I'm not saying that it's exactly bad, but if you can talk about all these talking points in a single sitting, on one sitting without editing, that would be much better for you.
I had nothing but wonderful experiences right from the start. But then I'd say around 2022 or 2023, things kind of started to change. The energy kind of had shifted within the organization as a whole. And I believe that stemmed from Charlie sort of taking a step back and kind of more taking that true CEO leadership role. And Charlie decided to entrust some of these people that had been working at Turning Point and some outside hires to kind of take more of a leadership position within the organization.
Okay, I see the blinking and the see stuff, but she says some of these people, but she's saying that Charlie took a step back and he entrusted these people. I find it interesting that she doesn't mention who these people are, just because I think that there should be no problem, right? If Charlie was entrusting people at the top or in leadership positions, those leadership positions were going to be really public. So I don't think that's going to be a secret to anybody. She's really revealing a secret or anything of the sort. So why not mention that?
And I don't blame Charlie for that. I kind of understood where things were going. I wasn't a big fan of the energy and kind of environment shift, but I understood why things like this needed to happen.
Notice all the cuts in here? Notice that.
Fan of the energy and kind of environment shift, but I understood why things like this needed to happen. These people that Charlie...
Are you seeing what I'm seeing? What is this? Why do you have to do like two cuts in the middle of a sentence? I don't know. Again, it doesn't... I'm not saying that this has a deeper meaning. I'm just saying that you're going to record a video that that is going to be consequential for you, your profession, your life. It's going to make waves, I don't know, and you do this sloppy work and you say that you work hard. I don't think this should be your introduction. This is your introduction to the world. So I think that you should have been more, I don't know, polished about this.
But I understood why things like this needed to happen. These people that Charlie put into leadership positions, I didn't always agree with, but I was certainly in no place to judge the discretion of my CEO. I trusted that he put the right people in charge, but over time I pretty quickly learned that some of these people in leadership positions were not people that I felt were either prepared or qualified to be or deserving to be in that role.
Then there was another cut, two more cuts in fact, and she's still talking about these people in leadership positions that again have to be very public. And why doesn't she just name them? She has been fired. What is the problem on naming them?
Fast forwarding a few years from that time I just spoke about in 2022, 2023, all the way up until September 10th, 2025. Obviously, it was
another cut.
An extremely traumatizing day for everyone. I think pretty much everyone in the world with any amount of sanity was slightly traumatized by what they saw. It was
another cut.
An extremely traumatizing day for me. And I worked nonstop. My phone received hundreds of phone calls on September 10th, thousands of text messages, and multiple times I kind of got reprimanded for not being responsive enough to people, but I literally just could not keep up with everything that was happening between my email and my personal phone and my work phone. It was just non-stop. And I've seen a video of a coworker of mine who was also released from Turning Point. She spoke about 20-hour days. Yeah, absolutely. Those were very, very real, especially for those first 2 months post Charlie's assassination.
Okay, you can imagine that it was a bit, I don't know, traumatic for everyone and traumatic for the organization as well. So anybody could imagine that, what is going to happen right now? Although she said that it was up to 2 months after Charlie was assassinated. How does that work exactly? How do you have a barrage of calls for 2 months? Calls regarding what exactly? What are we talking about? Because I can understand a barrage of calls in the first 48 hours. I can understand a barrage of calls in the first week after Charlie was assassinated, but for 2 months straight. And I don't know what kind of calls are we talking about here. So she wants to make the point that she was working her ass off. Okay, she was this model employee of the month, whatever. She was busting her ass answering these emails and this call. Okay, nice. I guess that is part of the job. Okay, you sign up for a job, right?
In December, we obviously had America Fest here in Phoenix, Arizona, and that was nonstop work too. And so really it's just been go, go, go for almost the past 6 months.
Okay, she mentions, for example, America Fest, and I don't think that if, let's say that Charlie Kirk was not assassinated, that I'm pretty sure that an organization like Turning Point, that is a lot of work. Always. I don't think that, okay, it's gonna be a bit slower. And then she's saying, we organized America Fest, that was also go, go, go. That's gonna be go, go, go no matter what. Charlie was alive or dead. That was going to be a given. I've seen the videos of America Fest in 2023 and 2024, and it was brutal. So I can guess that it was brutal for everyone involved. So you know what you signed up for. It's like working for Apple under Steve Jobs. You know what you signed up for. So what are you complaining about?
With like no extra compensation, no breaks, no real, hey, let's grieve as a family.
Let's grieve as a family. She's complaining 2 months after Charlie Kirk was assassinated that they didn't have the opportunity to grieve as a family. And you remember that was one of the complaints that Candace Owens had about that Zoom call from Erica Kirk, that so many people have mocked, that she was treating Turning Point as if it was a family. So let me get this straight. Treating your organization as a family is bad or is it good? You need it or you don't need it? I personally, this is my personal let's say opinion about any 9 to 5. If you are working for a 9 to 5 and they treat you as family, it depends of the of the organizations. It depends from organization to organization, because I know of people who are really happy with their workplace and maybe they don't call it a family. Calling it a family, I always find it creepy. It sounds like LinkedIn hypocrisy, all right? But it's normal. Everybody calls, the company, the family, but it's usually the higher up. So I'm not surprised that Erica could have said at some point, this family, it's normal. That is normal speak, corporate speak. That is appropriate. I don't know. Some people feel like that. But that you were, I don't know, you are complaining that you have this amount of work, like 2 months in, and there was no time to grieve properly as a family. What do you think that Charlie would have wanted, or what if he could send a message from the afterlife? What do you think that Charlie would have wanted? He would have wanted for all this. Yeah, let's make sure all conservatives rally behind this, behind the reality that the left-wing media, everything, Democrats, liberals, the woke mob, have created this monster that is brainwashing people, and that brainwashing killed me. That's what Charlie would have wanted. And you are complaining, you couldn't grieve properly as a family. What Charlie would have wanted, I am sure, 100% sure about this, is for everybody to literally work their asses off. And I want anyone to correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm open to being corrected. I'm pretty sure that the only way that Charlie Kirk could build Turning Point USA was going the Steve Jobs way. Everybody here is going to work to the edge of their limits, and we're going to look out for everybody at the same time. This is not going to be a family, because treating an organization as a family is, LinkedIn, corporate speak that nobody wants. But if you are hired, you know what it means. It's going to be hard work. It's going to be really fulfilling, but it's going to be hard work. So again, I see complaining. I see wording here that let's grieve as a family. Like you were 2 months after the fact and you were complaining about that. I don't know. Maybe you're not a slave. You can quit. There's the door right there. You can just quit. You can just go away. It's just like, this is the thing. I can't be cynical because people really need the check. Because if you need the check, if you need that it means hard work, you have to keep your head down and work, you go for it. Or else you look for a job anywhere else. I mean, I am not maybe the best example because I have always loathed being working for another people. It's something I simply cannot stand. I have never wanted that, and I put myself in a position to not work for anyone else. But if you're complaining about that, then do something about that. If you're so proactive, if you can work your ass off for months answering emails, then why not do something to change your own reality? Again, this is empty complaining. This is complaining about, I don't know, stupid things.
Let's take some time and we'll pick back up where.
You remember that Erica gave everybody the opportunity to, if you need some time, take some time, and she's complaining that she was not given any time. That when that Zoom call leaked by Candace Owens, that we don't know if this was this woman, the one who leaked that Zoom call, Erica Kirk started those exact same words. So I don't understand what is her point.
Where we left off in just a little while. And I wasn't necessarily expecting that. Charlie was someone who always expected us to push through and to continue to work. However,
there's the proof. What I just said.
I think that these are extremely unprecedented circumstances in which we were all under. And so that was a huge turnoff for me at the organization, was just how everything has been handled since 9/10.
Oh, you wanted them to hold your hand. You wanted them to hold your hand and tell, oh, everything's going to be okay. You know what step up means? I don't know. I don't know.
During the memorial, for example, I literally did not sleep for over 48 hours. Despite all of that, I want to go ahead and fast forward to my termination.
Okay, there's this comment from Margie, for example. I think they ramped things up too much after his death when the team wanted to slow down. I don't think that whatever the team wants counts. Because, again, I think that if Charlie could send a message from the afterlife, you need to at least, okay, I'm dead, but at least you need to use this as a stepping stone to unite united conservatives, rally conservatives around this, about this problem that killed me. And this is urgent. This is what I don't understand. So many people saying that, oh, they sold so many shirts. Yeah, because they need the funding. I don't understand how people think these organizations work. And if that, I saw a poll, I think it's Brita, made a poll about if it's not Erica, the CEO of Turning Point, who do you think should be the CEO of Turning Point? Nobody. Turning Point should just disappear, dissolve. It's done. Turning Point was just Charlie Kirk. Do you think that's what Charlie Kirk would have wanted? Because I don't think so. I don't think that's what he would have wanted.
Which took place about 3 weeks ago. And I was brought into an office to have a discussion just generally about my employment. It was myself, Andrew Colvett, and Marina Minas, who is the CMO of Turning Point USA, who I used to work for when I was just full-time with Turning Point prior to joining the ATK company. They pulled me into a room and they sat me down and told me that there were 2 instances they wanted to talk to me about, one of which is pretty irrelevant to this timeline, so I'm just going to talk about the one, which was an Uber ride that took place allegedly in the months of either October or November of 2025. And what was told to me was that a Turning Point executive got into an Uber one day and they randomly just kind of started talking about Turning Point. And the executive asked the driver, what do you think about Turning Point? And the driver proceeded to tell the Turning Point executive, well, it's just really sad. I've heard the organization's really going downhill. There's not really a direction and nobody likes Erica. And the Turning Point executive proceeded to ask this Uber driver, well, who told you that? And the Uber driver told the Turning Point executive that his daughter was good friends with a girl that worked at Turning Point way back when in high school.
You saw all the edits. Maybe you're listening to this and you didn't see them, but along the last 10 seconds, there were two cuts of her words, of the video. The video had two cuts. Why couldn't you just talk about this in a single sitting? Okay, maybe you can cut, maybe you can start the topic of sitting down with the attorney, whatever. Why couldn't you just talk about this, of a single shot?
They had spoken about Turning Point since Charlie's assassination, and that, this was told to him by his daughter. And the Turning Point executive, of course, asked, well, what's the employee's name? And the Uber driver allegedly said, Aubrey. Aubrey who? Aubrey Leitch. And the story was presented to me as one of the reasons for my termination. And I was just a little taken aback because, number one, I'm not really friends with anybody from high school. And a lot of that has to do with my political beliefs. I've been a conservative since I was pretty much a junior in high school.
I mean, I wanted to mention that story of the Uber driver. I mean, there's so many layers of hearsay in there. We can't possibly know if there wasn't actually an Uber driver. We can't possibly know if the executive was making up things. We can't possibly know if she's making up things. There's so many layers of hearsay to that regulation. There's no way to prove that none of this happened or did not happen. So the problem is that, okay, she says that this was one of the reasons that this Uber driver somehow began to talk with this executive. The executive asked him a question, and the Uber driver magically also at the same time recalled her name of this friend of I simply cannot grasp that happening. So maybe the Turning Point executive was lying. Maybe the people at Turning Point were twisting a bit reality. Maybe she is twisting a bit reality. Maybe everybody is twisting a bit of reality, and they all of them reach out to this what happened with the Uber driver. So I am not even going to address this because I mean the level of hearsay of I heard from that, I hear from this is so baffling that at the same time, if anyone had the minimum amount of let's find out what happened. Let's say the guys at a Turning Point. If they knew that this could have been layers of hearsay, they could have asked her, okay, what happened? I don't know. Maybe what happened has to do with that other thing that she's claiming that it doesn't matter right now. But I'm pretty sure that other thing does matter. So she's saying that, no, I did not say anything to anybody. But we want to know, do you really think that things were going down or downhill at Turning Point?
And so I don't know who I would have told this story to, and it also doesn't even align with my true thoughts of Erica at the time. I've actually known Erica since 2013. We were doing pageants around the same time as one another. She was in the Miss USA organization, and I was in the Miss United States organization, and we happened to cross paths at an event. So I've known Erica for quite some time, and my thoughts of her and nobody liking her do not align whatsoever with that timeline of October or November. So that was one of Turning Point's reasons for letting me go. So unlike my peers, I actually was given reason. However, there's another thing I kind of want to dive into. To protect myself, I am going to preface with Turning Point has not insinuated this. They never told me anything like this. However, I just have a gut feeling.
A gut feeling? I have the feeling, I think, I don't know, but I know
that I was terminated from Turning Point because I am questioning the narrative of what happened to my role model and CEO, Charlie Kirk, on the day of his assassination. What is being told to us?
And there was a huge cut and a huge edit in there. And I want to know, I guess that there's going to be another video. She saying what is... But I asked her directly on X, okay, now that you have been fired from Turning Point and you can speak your mind, I guess that we're going to have a second video, right? When you're going to give us your what do you think that happened to Charlie? I want to listen to her. I want to know what is her take on this, and see why does she disagree? Because why not? Okay, so I guess we're gonna have a second video.
The mainstream media just really doesn't add up to me, and I'm really hopeful that one day it will. But as it stands right now, it just doesn't. And so I've been here in the background talking with people, expressing how I truly feel, because as an American citizen, I have the right to my freedom of speech and my freedom of thought. And I have a lot of concerns and a lot of questions about what took place that day and the events leading up to that day.
Okay, what are those questions and concerns? I thought that you were going to give an opinion, not questions and concerns, because anyone can have questions and concerns. That is normal. But if you want to say something that something goes against the, how do they say, the narrative? Okay, maybe we can listen to you. I'm open. I'm open
to that day. It is from my own experience that you can't question the narrative and work at Turning Point. That is how I feel. That is how other people I've talked to feel.
Okay, I want to say something about this, because it's not like there is a narrative by Turning Point. And I think that those words are misleading. It's not like Turning Point put, the investigation that has been carried out there. Okay, these are the bullet points, pun intended, of the investigation. This is what happened. No, it's not Turning Point, the ones who have established a narrative. It's the authorities. It is physics. It's our own eyes, okay, that we have been able to, put the pieces together. So you cannot question the narrative of Turning Point. That's what I instantly know that you are coming in bad faith. Because it's not a narrative of Turning Point. You cannot question the narrative. Okay, you cannot question the narrative of Turning Point. What exactly is that narrative? What narrative are we talking about? Again, it would be great to do some kind of interview, but it is obvious that if you're going to do an interview with me, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask the questions. Okay, you cannot go. It's like this.
That is how I feel at Turning Point.
You cannot question
the narrative and work at Turning Point.
Well, the work, you cannot question the work at Turning Point, because it's an organization, it's a company. You don't question the work. Can you do the work? Yes. Okay, we're fine. You can't do the work. Well, we will let you go, or you can just go. It's that simple. So, but those words, you can't question Turning Point's narrative, are both vague and misleading at the same time. So again, that's why this is the moment that I confirmed that she was coming in bad faith.
Is how other people I've talked to feel. It goes against everything that Charlie ever stood for. Charlie was someone who did question things, who did challenge the narrative. And I know that if anything at all were to have happened to myself or another employee or any other peer within the Turning Point family, that Charlie would be doing the same thing if we were brutally assassinated in the way that he was.
Yeah, another cut, by the way, this 100% sounds like Candace Owens wrote this. Like, you have to be asking the questions. And yes, you have to be asking the questions, and I'm going to repeat the question over again. What question do you think I'm going to repeat? Why isn't Jack Black being investigated? And I brought that topic a number of times. You're going to ask me, what does Jack Black have to do with this? And I will tell you exactly. That is exactly my point, but we can continue.
He would have never lived it down. And that is what I'm standing by as well. I am not going to just idly sit by and hope that the truth comes to light. I'm going to take action. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to talk to other people. And I refuse to apologize for...
Also, she has started her YouTube channel, and she's started her own podcast. That's what she's doing, because everybody is starting a podcast nowadays, especially if you have edgy takes or you are against the narrative. And again, I would like to know, I genuinely want to know, one, what narrative are we talking about? If what narrative has Turning Point, I don't know, sold in the general public. And what does she think that actually happened? I genuinely want to know both things.
For having my own freedom of thought, which is something that Charlie ingrained in me and so many other young people. So really the purpose of me coming on here and speaking with you today is to just bring light to the situation of the treatment happening inside the organization. All of these people who have been terminated were the most hardworking, loyal, honest employees that Turning Point has ever had. And I know that because I've actually been at Turning Point longer than most people. That's public record. You can see it for yourself on these job websites. Turning Point's average length of employment is about 1.5 to 2 years. And so to be there for almost 5 years is actually quite some time. I've seen the media and marketing team, for example, turn over at least twice, consuming of about 40 people. And so I know that these people have been some of the most loyal, hardworking, and honest individuals to ever pass through the organization.
Okay, I guess that you have, I don't know, like the Alan Parsons Project song. You have an eye in the sky. You have seen all these people, 24/7. You know exactly everything that they do. And by the way, this what you're doing tells me that you're not going to go for that open to work badge on LinkedIn. You're going to start your own thing, because after this, nobody in their right mind would hire you. Nobody except Candace Owens, that is.
Because I've been there, done that, and seen it all. I'm doing this for them. And I'm doing this for my friends who I consider family, who are still there, in hopes that they will start to receive better treatment by the leadership there, because nobody deserves to be let go without cause.
So anyone can expect that if they enter in contact with you, they could be snitched on at any time. This is basically what you're proving.
And frankly, it's a loss for Turning Point. We're all going to be better off because of this, because we have removed ourselves from an environment that was no longer serving us. And in my opinion, no longer serving the Lord, which was Charlie's entire intention. The other purpose...
It has so many cuts that I can't count. And especially the uncanniness of those counts. That's why so many people have said that this was AI. This is not AI. This is as far as I can tell, a real person. But yeah, I don't know how many cuts.
An environment that was no longer serving us. And in my opinion, no longer serving the Lord, which was Charlie's entire intention. The other purpose of this video is to bring to light the fact that although Turning Point is an organization that is all about freedom of speech and promoting that, from my experience, it is certainly not a place where that is something that is really accepted. I didn't want to do this.
Missed that
fact
one.
That although Turning Point is an organization that is all about freedom of speech and promoting that, from my experience, it is certainly not a place where that is something that is really accepted.
Okay, again, if you know if there is a narrative push by Turning Point, let us know what narrative are we talking about. Because if this is the investigation, the open investigation and the prosecution itself, that is not Turning Point pushing something. It's the investigation itself that is outside Turning Point. In fact, Turning Point is not kind of pulling the strings or something like that. Something that we could have seen in the videos and yeah, the literal facts of the investigation. But again, if you want to keep painting Turning Point in a bad light with a narrative that you don't define, and you have wasted our time here, and you cannot define the narrative of Turning Point and how and what do you think that clashes with that narrative of Turning Point. So you have essentially not only snitched on your previous employer, but you have wasted everyone's time. So unless there's a second video, more juicy or anything, which I guess that it will have like 200 cuts, this is it's pretty much empty. It has like a few seconds left.
I didn't want to do this.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want this to be the ending result for me or for Turning Point. It literally breaks my heart to make this video, but I know that I owe it to Charlie and that this would be the expectation for me. And so that's why I'm doing it. Everything's for Charlie.
Everything's for Charlie.
Overall.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, this sounds 100% like Candace Owens. Like we're gonna go full Scooby Doo and let's see who is behind the mask. And you take the mask out, and it's Candace Owens right there. The cuts were glitches of the mask.
It's really disappointing to see the direction in which Turning Point is going. And that is maybe one thing right that they got about this Uber ride is I'm not confident in where it's going as it stands right now. And
oh, so you did talk about this. So the Uber ride was comment was real, I guess. I don't know what by this point.
I'm really disappointed by that because I packed up and moved my entire life back to my hometown solely for the purpose of working for Turning Point. That is how much I love this place. I just refuse to stand by, watch my peers be unfairly treated, and watch leadership attempt to take over something that was Charlie.
Yeah, but Charlie's no longer here. Is attempting to take over something. How can they attempt to take over something if there's no longer Charlie Kirk? And Charlie Kirk, notice the contradiction. A few minutes ago, it feels like hours, she said that Charlie was taking a step back and we're putting these people, while Charlie was alive, Charlie was putting these people in leadership positions, right? She said that. And now she's saying that these people are trying to, I don't know, seize control of Turning Point. I guess that the same people that Charlie had put in command of Turning Point when she was alive. So which one of the two it is? That doesn't make sense. That simply doesn't make sense. Still a few seconds.
Through and through, and something that he poured his heart, soul, and mind into building and creating and maintaining. I appreciate everyone who stuck around for the entirety of this video, and God bless you all.
Yeah, God is gonna bless with your patience, because those I don't know how long have we been here? How long was this? This section was like, I don't know, 30 minutes long. 30 minutes long. This is terrible. Again, this was full of nothing, but I had to address, of course, I had to pinpoint the inconsistencies of her argument. There's no argument. First, she says Charlie was taking a step back and putting these people in leadership. That was not working well. Then Charlie was assassinated. She disagrees with the narrative of Turning Point. I want to know what narrative is she talking about. And my guess, I'm going to place this bet. I'm going to place this bet with you. The next video from Audrey, she's going to be talking about the narrative the same way that Candace Owens says they or them. And she's not going to specify what is the narrative from Turning Point the same way that Candace Owens never says who is them or they. It's the same vague posting, vague talking for what? So the listener fills in the blanks. Oh yeah, of course she's talking about this. Of course she's talking about that. Of course she's talking about Turning Point is running a cover-up. Okay, Turning Point is running a cover-up. What kind of cover-up are we talking about? Everything. As Charlie was betrayed by everyone. Again, it's vague posting. It's nothing concrete. So if she can come forward with a shorter video, please, and she can be clear about what narrative are we talking about from Turning Point being pushed onto the employees, and nobody can speak their minds because Turning Point is this kind of, I don't know, hydra that is controlling everyone and shutting their mouths. And when it comes to work, well, that's basically what you have to do. You essentially describe what working at any company nowadays means. And the other thing is, you disagree with that narrative. You have other thoughts about what happened with Charlie Kirk. I guess that you're going to, you want to profit from your takes. You want to, since you did not reveal those takes in the first video, only the fact that you did not say, she did not say anything in this video about what does she think that happened with Charlie Kirk, it means that she's doing this as episodes. Or in the next episode, I will talk about Turning Point's narrative. And after that one, I will tell you something that I saw 2 days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated that I thought was odd. Does this sound similar to you? Does this sound like something that you have heard other times, listened, or maybe watched other times? Does this ring a bell to you? Because it does ring a bell to me. And you know what I'm talking about. The vague posting, the connecting. Well, the next episode, and begin with this vague claims. And I guess in this case, Audrey doesn't have the receipts that the unnamed always has. Well, I guess that next time, with a shorter video, and one take, please, Audrey, one take. I believe in you. I know. English is my second language, and I could have said that on one take. I know what I have lived through. I know that you know that what you lived through, Turning Point. I guess that you can, I don't know. If you want to do podcasts that you most likely will, try to do it in one sitting and try to be succinct about that. And we will all be grateful for that. Again, I would love to know what you think about this in the comments. And apologies for the longer video on this, but I needed to explain the inconsistencies and how this doesn't make sense. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Body Language Guy. Much love and